that we saw of George Floyd being killed, those really powerful images. What's the other one? Okay, yeah, those really powerful images of George Floyd being killed. And what those images really call on us to do, ask us to do, is to ask some very important questions, some serious questions. And two of those questions are, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be alive? Because to watch George Floyd being killed was to watch someone being treated not like a human being for 8 minutes 46 seconds and even more for over 9 minutes, to be treated in a way that was not like a human being, not even like an animal. So what those images of George Floyd being killed a year ago tell us, or told us, is that this world that we live in is mediated by power. The world is not only mediated by power, but it's also mediated by white supremacy. And what white supremacy tells us is that whiteness and being white is the paragon of virtue, is the paragon of humanity, is the epitome of being civil. And anyone else who is not that. What white supremacy tells us through the mediation of power is that anyone who is not white is not, it speaks to the virtue, to the paragon of virtue, to the paragon of humanity, of civilization. It tells us this is the epitome of humanity, of civilization. So for the life of a human being to be so slowly and dehumanizingly taken away from him, taken away in full view, knowing that the person was being recorded in plain sight, was to say that the strange fruit that Billie Holiday sang about in 1939 are still bearing fruit today. And those strange fruits are bearing fruit, all of those strange fruits are being harvested all over the world, in multicultural societies, in Western countries all over the world, like the UK. So, for many black and brown people around the world, race matters begin, when we talk about race matters, it begins with existential questions. It begins with a lived experience. And that is to say, black and brown people all around the world, particularly multicultural societies like ours here in London and around the world, have to negotiate with death every day. Many have to negotiate with death every day. And we're not just talking about physical death. We're talking about psychic death. We're talking about imagery and narratives that tell us every single day that we are less civilized, less beautiful, less intelligent, and less trustworthy. And so on that basis, opportunities are kept from many black and brown people around the world. I want to finish on a couple of points, and that is the point that brought a lot of people out onto the streets last year, and that is George Floyd's final words, "I can't breathe." Now, as Elizabeth said, I'm part of Extinction Rebellion here in Lambeth, and what we fight for in Extinction Rebellion is for climate justice. It's against the climate emergency. And basically what is happening around the world with development today is that, for example, the UK government is investing lots of money in fossil fuel exploitation around the world, in black and brown countries, in Africa and Caribbean and so on and so forth. Now, they're doing that knowing full well that the people who are going to bear the most impact of these of extreme weather events and so on are black and brown people. So they're doing that in full knowledge of that. To do so consciously is to say that people in other lands, in Africa, in the Caribbean, in India and so on, who are going to pay the price for the climate emergency, is to say that these people are disposable people. These zones are sacrifice zones. And that is not right. And so as Extinction Rebellion, we fight against climate justice, we fight against racial justice, we fight against environmental despoilation. Now, the final point that I want to finish on is that we should remember our brothers and sisters in Palestine who are going through hell right now, who have been going through hell for 73 years. They've been not even going through, they've been going through a catastrophe for 73 years, and they're still going through it. Our struggle is intimately intertwined with their struggle, and we cannot fight racism, we cannot fight inequality without thinking about our brothers and sisters and kinfolk in Palestine. And on that matter, anyone who doesn't understand this fight that we have for racism, against racism, anyone who doesn't understand the fight that we have against racial capitalism, anyone who doesn't understand our fight against white supremacy, if you don't understand all those things, then every single thing you think you know about this world will totally confuse you. And you need to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want